Here comes the music. Welcome to the Failing Writers Podcast.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, John. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
Should we do a funny bit at the start saying Dave's not here, or should you just say Dave's not here?
Well, Dave isn't here, so probably we should just admit that.
Yeah.
I was thinking one of us could do like a Dave impression. Can you do a Dave impression?
It's probably just going to be slightly offensive, so yeah, I'll give it a go. Oh, hello. Oh, that sounds more like... no, I can't. It's, you know when you think you can, and then you just get in his own. Yeah.
All right, boys.
Yeah, Dave's not here.
Yeah, he's not.
We're hoping he's going to be back next week, because if he is back, the plan is for us to critique his wartime novel. Obviously, if he's not back, then that would be a bit weird.
We could still do it anyway.
We could. Maybe it'd help us be more honest and forthright with our views if he's not here to.
You're right. We could open the floodgates then, couldn't we?
Yeah.
No, we need him there, don't we? We need him there for that. But let's see. You never know. You know, he might be back.
I think he's just waiting until he can make like a big deal of it and make a big entrance.
Yeah, probably.
So once he was off for like 2 weeks and come back for the third, he can do kind of a, hey, I'm back, everyone. Look at me.
I think you're right. It's an attention-seeking thing.
It is really. So, I mean, I don't know if we should be playing up.
We shouldn't even be talking about it, should we?
No.
We're just, we're pandering to it.
Yeah. Let's just move on to what we've got on today.
Let's do it.
Although having said that, do you remember last week I wrote the silly little ditty about Dave not being here? I have reprised that and basically done exactly the same thing but with new lyrics because he's not here again.
Let's hear that then.
Let's have a little listen to that. So exactly why is Dave not with us for this interview? Anyone get that feeling of deja vu? Maybe he's lost in an outdoor maze. Maybe an alien zapped him with cosmic rays. Maybe he's telling flat earthers the world's a sphere. Maybe that's why Dave's not here. Maybe he's in a rocket on his way to space. Maybe he's embarrassed and he's trying to save face. Maybe he's waiting till the coast is clear. Maybe that's why Dave's not here. Maybe he's been caught short and gone for a whiz. Maybe he's just forgotten what day actually is. Maybe he's going gone and he's now an auctioneer. Maybe that's why Dave's not here. Maybe he's eating cakes until he vomits. Maybe he's just watching a bit of Wallace and Gromit. Maybe he's got a pencil stuck in his ear. Maybe that's why Dave's not here. Maybe he's just eating a particularly tasty orange. Maybe he's just thinking a word that rhyme with orange. Maybe he's just completing an important task. Could that be why? That could be why. Or maybe he can't be asked. So, I mean, he very much reaches the same conclusions as last week.
I think I'm still going with that.
Yeah, it's pretty much now. But last week, we did say that this week we'd have an interview with Julia Roberts, not the famous Hollywood superstar Julia Roberts, a much more interesting lady who is an expert in creativity and thinking. And John's going to remind me what her new book's called.
It's called Write Without the Fight.
Write Without the Fight. So it's all about making it all come out easier, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're talking about writer's block, aren't we?
Yeah,
and creative flow and how you can knuckle down and write with joy and ease. That's what it's about.
That sounds amazing, doesn't it?
It does. It does sound amazing. Do you know, it reminds me of...
Mild laxative. No. Go on.
It reminds me of an article that my mum sent me.
How to be a better son.
Have you heard of the Manuscript Writing Cafe in Tokyo?
No.
I think this is a brilliant idea.
Go on.
So it's a cafe for writers where when you arrive, you have to commit to a specific writing goal and give a time for when you'd like to have it complete. And the proprietor of the cafe basically keeps you on the straight and narrow. So if you get your phone out, he shouts at you. And and you're not allowed to leave until you finished your goal. But apparently you can choose like levels of encouragement or abuse.
Yeah.
So if you do find yourself looking at your phone, he can give you a stern talking to. You know, you can choose from the menu of abuse that you get from him.
Wow.
I think that could work for me.
Yeah.
I'll bow to authority quite easily. I'm not sure it works so well for you.
It'd probably just make me more determined not to, or like kind of
that's what I mean. Yeah, they'd need some very big bouncers on the door to stop you leaving before you'd finish.
I'd have to select the sort of sycophantically encouraging package.
Yeah, the ego stroking.
Yeah. When they're walking past the table with someone else's drink, just go, "Hey, that looks really good. You should keep doing that." And I'd be like, "Yeah, look at me. Write some more." So that's So as long as they got a variety of different things like that, I'd be up for that.
Yeah,
that would work.
I thought that was great. Have you ever written in a cafe? Can you write out and about?
No, because I think it makes you look like someone who's trying to be seen writing in a cafe. Do you know what I mean? It just makes you look like no one writes anything in a cafe.
Hey, hang on. I used to
J.K.
do
Rowling
a lot of
wrote
writing.
Harry Potter in a cafe, but
I used to write in cafes a lot.
yeah. Did you have a scarf on?
Sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, I bet you
I
did.
don't know.
Bet you did.
Only in summer.
Did you look thoughtfully out the window, hoping people would
I
spy
mostly
you?
looked out the window, to be fair, with my laptop
Oh,
open.
I'm thinking.
No, I used to write a lot in a cafe. Where they've got a bench that overlooks the road, but there was something about that particular space. I think there are certain cafes where it'd just be annoying, where if it's too loud.
Yeah.
But they used to just play good music, and there was, I don't know, it just had a nice vibe about it, a writing vibe.
I think there is something about making an appointment to write and having a location that you go to do it actually adds to that, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like you were saying with that cafe or with the Writers' Hour stuff that we've done previously, and Julia mentioned a similar thing, doesn't she? Of having like this appointment to be somewhere and write for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, rather than just thinking you'll go and do it and you don't really, and it changes it into an actual discipline, I guess. Isn't it? It's about discipline.
But I think also sometimes it's good to have stimulus around you. Sometimes it's good to be very quiet and there's nothing around you.
Yeah.
There's no sound. But I think sometimes it's quite good to look up and see the old toothless guy walking down the road.
I would completely agree with that. I'm definitely in the camp of busy noise around while I'm working, because I can find my way into the right zone in my head, no problem. Years of working in a creative job in open plan offices.
No, I used to like it.
But then there was other people, I know other people I've worked with and other people mention it, have just, couldn't even, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And they need...
Very easily
They don't even listen to music or anything. They're just like in a silence.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're all different, isn't it, as human beings?
It is, yeah. It is a bit like that.
Imagine that. Have you got anything else interesting to say, or should we just go straight into the interview now?
Well, I was gonna mention the fact that we put a question out about writer's block.
Oh yeah, we did. We mentioned that in the interview.
Yeah, we didn't get the reaction.
But then we start talking around it, and we don't actually get to mention the tweets. Have you got any more of the tweets?
Yeah. So we asked, writer's block, is it real or an ancient conspiracy theory started by radical anti-bibliophiles to mess with our mojo? And I just wanted to get the conversation
and if anyone wants to guess who wrote that tweet, possibly quite obvious.
It was me.
Yes.
So we had quite a few that went down the same kind of vein, and Stephen Haunts went along those lines. He thinks it's an excuse for procrastination. So it's basically naming what procrastination is.
Yeah.
And he advises, if you get stuck on a plot point, work on something else for a little while.
Yeah. Well, you see, before we did the interview with Julia, I would have been going, yeah, he's right. He's bloody right. I'm not now.
It's an interesting one, that. I think sometimes that works, and sometimes you're just avoiding what you need to crack on with.
But when you listen to what we talked to Julia about, there's a reason why that works sometimes. And it's about knowing what that reason is, so you can do it every time rather than just sometimes getting away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else you got?
Whereas Jodie Miller Wrights says, I think it's just doubt, lack of confidence, fear of failure. It's self-perpetuated. And if you understand that perfection isn't the goal, it's easy to write through it.
I think there's some truth in that, actually, for certain situations, isn't there? The old, what was it? What's the catchy phrase that I can't remember? Perfection is the enemy of something. Perfectionism is the enemy of completion, or something.
That sounds.
We'll look it up and edit that one back in seamlessly.
But I think I probably suffer from that a little bit. I want every line to be right before I move on.
Do you
to
feel the
next
burden of the reader's eyes on you at that point? Because I do.
Yeah, a little bit. I
almost
think, yeah.
Like you go far too far down the line and think this has got to be perfect, otherwise someone might think it's shit.
Well, Jonathan Ross is probably going to bring it up in the interview.
Well, that's the trouble, isn't it? You want to be watertight for that, don't you?
That's it. That's a problem for writing forward, isn't it? If you're stuck on every bloody line. But I think I'm getting better at it. I think I'm sort of slowly teaching myself just to crack on. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what some people on the internet think writer's block is. Should we find out what it actually is?
Yeah, and this. Do you know why this interview is great? Like I said before, it actually changed my opinion.
which doesn't happen very often.
Well, no, it's difficult. When you write about so many things, it's difficult to have your opinion changed.
That's true.
But no, it did. Lot to be learned from this.
So let's listen to it.
Welcome to the podcast, Julia Roberts, a creative expert, I would say. Julia, is that right?
Yeah, that's my bailiwick. And now that I'm an author, I guess I'm particularly an authority on this subject.
Excellent. So you actually contacted us, and we got quite excited about it, actually, because we've just been talking about writer's block and whether indeed it actually exists or not. I'll stand in my corner right now and say, I don't believe it does. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
So you want me to say I believe it does, but you guys go ahead.
Do you or not? Do you? I mean, do you or not?
No, I totally do. I totally believe it exists. I believe it's different for different people.
Right.
I mean, I think this whole idea of the blank page that people refer to is just one kind of block.
Yes.
And so if you don't have that block, I think you don't have block. But I believe there's a lot of resistance to writing, and it shows up in a lot of ways, and different people have to get through it different ways.
So what are the most typical ways then that people end up not writing? The blocks.
So I'll just tell you myself, I didn't really realize I was blocked.
Right.
I was a brainstormer.
Yeah.
So I was a professional brainstormer. I went into work and brainstormed on like 3 or 4 topics a day, spitting ideas all day long. So, like validated by society as a creative person, right? And able to totally do this all the time. So when I went to write my own things, however, I think I thought I was just lazy or dumb or a flibberty gibbet, a flake. People would say, just pick one idea and stick with it. And he'd be like, how? So I had too many ideas, which made it really easy to jump from idea to idea instead of just sort of clarify and take it all the way through to finish. Like if anything got a little bit wrong, I could easily jump to a new idea. So I didn't think of myself as blocked, but because I was sort of happily busy, but nothing ever got done or published or produced. So all of a sudden I'm just going, what is that? That's a kind of block, So I ended up looking for help, and I went first and I had just published my first book in 2008, and I was sort of at a loss how to move forward on that again. Like I just was like, So I went to get coaching, and then as a result of that, got coach training. And then I went to Eric Maisel for creativity coaching, which, kind of got me closer to my people and purpose. But it was when I got my master's in creativity, we're talking a solid 7 years later, all of that I really sort of had a new power to understand my own creativity, what goes wrong, how to get out of that ditch, that sort of thing.
And what was the magic solution? Because you've pretty much literally just described me there. So I am really keen to know what the actual solution was.
So the solution for me was, I took an assessment called Foresight.
Yeah.
I took this, and this tells us where we have energy and where we lose energy.
Oh, okay.
So if you lose energy, you're going to have dread, right? And if you have energy, you're going to stay there because it's fun and interesting. So for me, obviously, I could ideate all day long, right?
Yeah.
But if you're losing energy, it's going to be, like I said, dread, delay, avoidance. For me, I didn't understand that, yes, I could ideate till the cows came home, but I never clarified, and I avoided clarifying. And I rolled my eyes when people tried to clarify as if they were bankers or boring people, Oh, we've got to clarify. Could you please just get to the ideas? Not only did I feel sort of like bored by it, but a little threatened, because I thought, especially in a business setting, it might show me up as weak or, not giving my value, or so your ego gets involved to protect you against the knowledge that you have a failing. Because if you're aware of it, then you get defensive in things, right? And so instead you take an assessment and you see it in black and white, and somehow that awareness is really fun and interesting. At least you're not at a conference table with somebody like looking down their snoot at you.
Is that just because you can't lie to yourself anymore? Because it's kind of...
Well, you can't, and you can also, it's sort of like a diagnosis. You just go, oh, that's what I am. So all of a sudden then...
So it's quite empowering in the end.
Yeah, in the end, it's liberating to just know, what you are, and stop apologizing for what you aren't. You have value where you are, and you need help where you aren't. And there's a lot of kinds of help. This is a 70-year-old science, creativity. So there's a lot of tools that have been developed for each of these phases of thinking, and you can look them up. Or you can get them from, a creativity coach who understands these things. But the bottom line there are clarifying tools that make it so much easier for me, that I don't lose energy, I don't feel depressed or distressed that I might not get the answer, or you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like, oh, I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
So now I finish things, man.
So are there particular techniques then that you employ, or is it just an overall mindset that's changed?
No, there are definite tools that are related to
Right.
each of the thinking phases that have been developed by lots of practitioners. Not, you know, they're not mine. They're notable.
Yeah.
Since they've been doing this since the first thinking model, like an idea of how the brain works when it's creating, observed thinking model was 1952, Osborne and Parnes. And they used that pretty much until like 1995, when a new guy, Dr. Gerard Puccio, a new model called the Foresight model, and it's 4 thinking phases instead of the 6. It's easier to teach and use. It's still based on the same science of what locus of your brain you're thinking from, what mindset encourages that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So if you think of like brainstorming, going back to brainstorming and ideation, which happens to be my strength, when we got done with 2 hours of crazy ideas and jokes and, you know, pizza and M&Ms or whatever, the account execs would say, you know, go home now, you know, let the grown-ups do the work, right? Because their creativity was kicking in, which was going to be structure and convergence, like bringing it into what it's going to be for the client.
Yeah.
And to ideate, you have to be playful and fun and funny. And then to structure or develop the ideas, converge, you have to be, sorry about the garbage truck.
That's quite right.
The metaphor for our ideas, indeed.
That's right.
Oh, that's good. So anyway, to converge, you need to focus, you need to become critical, evaluative. So you have to actually shift your brain where you're thinking from. So it's best to do that in separate thinking sessions. That's a number 1 on the list. Like you don't judge your ideas as they come. Yeah. But it's often 2 different people who have those skills. But if you're doing it all yourself, which most writers are, you need to be conscious of tapping into a different mindset, a different like locus in your brain, and a different kind of thinking. Loose, open, free, evaluative, critical, judgmental. You know, you see let me just ask you to do a little thingy. Okay. In your heads, you just say the words, I have to write, and then something you have to write that's real. Like just do that in your head for a second. I have to write. Okay. Now how might I write whatever it is, the chapter, the scene? How might I? Do either of you feel that? The shift?
Yeah.
So the thing is, you've upshifted. You took your brain from one place, which was sort of judgmental.
Yeah.
And judgmental just means judgment. You know, it's like adding judgment to your thinking process, which the other way of saying that is evaluative. I mean, praise is judgment. Just to say I love that is judgment, right?
Yeah. I like the idea that there's a time and a place to do that as well, because I was reading your blog about reframing how you think about your idea and to not ask yourself, is this any good at that early stage, but instead a much more positive question, how might this idea work? And I like that. I think that's because I think you can critical think yourselves out of an idea sometimes, can't you? When actually you've got
especially in a group, but obviously a person can too.
Yeah. I think I do that all the time. I think that's my biggest issue. I'll think myself out of the idea when really what I should do is sort of, you know, wine and dine it a bit, loosen it up, show it a good time. Take it back to my place, put some Kenny G on.
And how might this idea work is an upshift. It's just like that sentence I just did with you, like, how might I write that scene instead of I have to, or how to do that. Because might's like a kind of a magic word. Our brain is really deeply programmed to respond to might in any language, really, because it implies opportunity, threat, food, sex, you know, it just implies something that we should perk up to instinctually and take care of. So that's as soon as you say, how might I, you leave your lower brain, which is reptilian and, you know, survival based, and you get into your upper brain, neocortex, which is problem solving. So you're already thinking about ways to do it. But what you just referred to is called affirmative judgment, and it's really powerful. Yeah. We all forget to do it.
I think sometimes as humans, we're kind of geared towards looking for the negative, aren't we, really? As an ancient survival instinct is to look for the bad bit out of everything.
Yes, we absolutely are. It's 4-to-1 ratio.
And even, like you said, John, just asking yourself, is this idea any good? it's just a massive invitation to go,
Yeah.
no, not really, that bit's a bit rubbish. And you ignore all the good bit of the idea and just, let's hyper-focus on the bit and then just throw it all out.
I think the worry is always that you're going to waste your time, isn't it, if you go down a certain route.
Yeah.
And so you want to criticize it early on and make sure that you're not going to be, pursuing something that's not worth pursuing. But actually, sometimes you've got to pursue it a little bit in order to see if it's any good.
So for me, I mean, I'm a racy sort of person. I race forward a lot. So for me, learning go slow to go fast was so strong, because just allowing yourself to slow down, ask affirmative questions, judge yourself with presence and not like with that sort of preachy or fear, not from your lizard brain, but from your neocortex story brain. Go slow to go fast. As soon as you decide you're going slow, all your defenses sort of calm down. I'm going slow, all your rushing and all your, judgments and all that sort of calms down. And then all of a sudden it just, you can see the value in things that you wouldn't have seen. And in the end, you move better. You move faster towards an actual end, an actual finish.
Do you meditate?
I do not,
Julia, because I've heard that meditation is amazing for creativity.
I mean, I don't even walk these days. That used to be my meditation. I moved out to LA and it's too darn hot. But so I'm a speedy person. I would rather meditate walking.
My problem is with meditation, every time I try it, I fall asleep almost immediately. I'm thinking,
you're too good at meditation. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think
you literally just switch off.
I skip over the entire meditation thing. I'm just gone.
Is that a thing? Is that a problem though? Do people say that's an issue?
I don't know.
It is when he's like driving kids around and stuff.
Do you know when it is a problem? Here's a question for you, Julia. Have you ever heard of writing narcolepsy?
Oh, John.
Because people laugh at me when I mention it, so I don't think it's probably as common as I assumed it is.
Meaning like you fall asleep while you're writing?
Yes, so when I get to a particularly difficult bit of plot, I'm just gone. I just conk out. I've been known to, wake up with my nose on the keyboard.
It reminds me, have you ever heard of those goats that if you startle them, they just faint? It reminds me a lot of that.
I do have a client who has that problem. So
really,
it's not nobody.
Okay, that's good.
Oh my God, you're kidding!
I found a fellow sufferer.
Well, we just talked about like there's 4 phases of thinking, right? They are clarity, ideas, structure, and finish, right? Those are the four creative goals, and they each require a different way of thinking. So obviously, as I said, I have zero energy or tolerance of clarifying. I am really good at ideas, structure, and development. I'm sort of even-tempered, so it gets dull fast, but I get back to it. But you seem to lose energy during structure, like heavy structured situations.
Yeah, that could be.
So you might want to seek a tool that helps you either simplify that task, seriously simplify it, or get help with it from somebody who loves it, or just give yourself a break. It's hard for your brain to do this. So
like a snack bar or
silly
something.
Little brain rewards can pull you forward slowly.
Yeah.
There's a reason we give a kid a sticker when they make their bed or whatever, because it's a sensory reward. So if you just let yourself be slow on this scene and give yourself a chocolate or even looking into a candle flame, anything that's sensory, going outdoors, singing a song, dancing, rewarding yourself, you might just pull yourself through it in little 15-minute stints and be kind to yourself, because you're basically doing something that your brain doesn't enjoy.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, I'll try that next time.
So, but the other thing is try and get a structured tool that helps you, like even just talking it might help you.
Yeah.
Talking into a transcriber, and then your energy might come back, because now you're evaluating it instead of generating it.
So clearly, from what you're saying, it sounds like writer's block is completely different things for different people at different stages. Like for some people, it's just getting starting. For some people, it's at a sort of later stage of trying to structure things or clarify things. That sounds right to me. So it's not one particular thing. It's
right.
People struggle at different stages. And that would ring true, actually, because we did ask, we asked Twitter what if they thought that writer's block was real.
What did Twitter say?
Well, Twitter said there were quite a few answers with the same theme. A.B. Finlayson said it was mainly massive laziness on his part. Thanks for being honest there,
Well, that's
Mike.
an energy thing again, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
It is. I think we take on the judgment of others in our own inner voices. Because I've always been called a flake just because I have a lot of ideas and didn't get things done.
Yeah, and I do the same thing and call myself lazy.
Right? Lazy's another one.
Yeah.
And then if you think about your life, you're doing this podcast and whatever, are you actually lazy? Probably not.
Right, that might not be the best argument for me, but I appreciate for other people that might work. But yeah, no, I am quite lazy. No, but I know I'm being facetious, obviously. But yeah, you're right. You do other things. You're not. I'm not lazy. I achieve stuff and strive for stuff.
Right. I wake up every day and move heaven and earth, and yet I'm lazy when it comes to.
Yeah.
So it's not lazy. It is some other thing, and you have to keep compassionately drilling down to understand it in a way that actually helps you in the end, instead of just leaves you high and dry with name calling, you know?
Yeah. But I think as soon as you said before about the energy thing, as soon as you said that initially, I thought it was some like far out, touchy-feely healing crystals thing. But when you further explained it.
Yeah, it is scientific. I mean,
no, but when you just, when something's explained simply and it just makes sense, and you think, yes, that's what it feels like when I'm in that position. I can just feel the energy just,
right.
You just empty out. Or in John's case, you fall asleep. You go to the nth degree. But it's the same thing, isn't it? It is just a evacuation of energy and motivation. And then you call yourself lazy because that's what lazy people do, isn't it? Lazy people have no motivation and don't get stuff done. Therefore, rather than identifying where the leak is from.
Right. And people don't understand, they don't know what it is, and they can see your frustration.
Yeah.
So they're probably helping in some stupid way, like trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
But it's not helpful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people just go, pick one idea and stick to it. And you're just like, how? Yeah. Give me a how. And that's what I think the science of creativity really does. It gives you a damn how. Now, I will say that most people, I don't know anybody else who brings this scientific information to individual creators. Everybody I graduated with and the cohorts before and after me, pretty much take it back to schools where they're teachers. That's a big one.
Yeah.
But the other biggest one is just into corporate ideation.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money is. So I felt like I had done that long enough, and I would rather see to it that writers get the information and that we get the opportunity to take these weird ideas that we feel compelled to write for reasons that are probably intuitive and interesting, and get them out into the world, and let the world start to be nudged by writers. Because I really feel like our share of voice should be greater, and it would be if we could follow
actually finished things and got them out there.
Right?
Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? That would help a lot.
Now that's science.
Yeah, can't argue with the science.
Do you work one-on-one with writers, as in coaching?
I do, right? But I have a big group called the Mighty Writers Club. We write together 4 times a week, and we have bi-weekly, actually every other week, sessions where we either coach or train on a subject.
How does that work? How does the writing together work? That literally just means you're all in a room together, or that means you're all on a Zoom call together?
We're all on a Zoom, and we have a prompt. It's optional. We don't read your prompt writing because we're not there for that. We're there to write. So it's just a warm up. So people skip it or use it. And then we just write for 55 minutes. And it's really for the sake of accountability, habit, congeniality. It's just a really good way to stick with it. Very few people are going to show up in a little Zoom room like this where everybody else is writing, and what, you play solitaire? No, you showed up, so you're going to do it,
Yeah, it's true. We've done something similar last series. What was it called? Writer's Hour. Was it called Writer's Hour?
Writer's Hour.
Seems an obvious name for it. Let's call it Writer's Hour. Very much the same thing, where you kind of, just by putting yourself in that situation, that different environment, focuses the mind and kind of just put some sort of rules around it that you can't sneak off from.
That's right. You feel like you can't walk away, and it's almost as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to just hammer it
because
out.
You feel like if you wreck this, then you've wrecked you'll never write. Like if you wreck this thing that you set up that's good, that works, then you're at risk of not writing at all. So I think people there are people who just, leave the club quickly because it's whatever. Maybe it's even threatening to think I'm going to show up and there's going to, they'll show up a few times and it's weird to them. But mostly whoever shows up and writes. If somebody goes away for 2 weeks, they've got a track to get back on. It's, what I mean? Things actually continually grow and happen. Like 70% of my clients in 2021 finished a manuscript.
Good going.
Wow.
That's enormous. Yeah.
And I assume that's particularly good stats because a lot of the people will have been attracted to do it because they couldn't finish anything as well. So you're kind of probably taking on some of the hardest cases and getting decent results there.
That's true. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah. Myself included.
Julia, are you an advocate of the daily word count?
No.
You're not?
That's interesting.
No, I'm extremely, I'm really an advocate of extreme permissiveness. Okay. I really am. Like, as soon as you start having any kind of rules around things, from my point of view, it all goes to hell. So I want to turn off that critical voice that says, oh, you're such an ass. You only wrote.
Right. Yes. Because so if you don't hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, and I've done NaNoWriMo, so I liked it then. And in that case, I always had to do way over their number count so that I would always be ahead. Because if I got behind, I just would have quit. I didn't have it in me I don't have it in me to face down my little critical voice. I can keep it at bay, but if it gets a good strong head on, I'm just eating brownies and watching TV. So I'm extremely permissive. I feel like just do what you do and keep enjoying it and keep rewarding yourself. I'm a very positively focused person when it comes to writing and creating, because I believe we're already overcoming incredible instinctual resistance to stepping out of line. Like being in line means like you're alive, you're staying alive. The lion is not going to get the antelope who stays in the herd, right? So when you step out of line, the lion's going to see you and, whatever, chase you down, eat you, whatever those things are. But that's a strong instinct is to conform. So when we already just stepping out of that line and not conforming, we're already facing down, millennia of instinct. So I just feel like, for me, atta girl, just for doing that. And then way to go, Joel, just for writing whatever,
So just being kind to yourself.
Very kind, very indulgent, very permissive.
Yeah.
You're always good enough. That sums it up for me.
That sounds nice. I like that.
It does sound nice, that. It sounds a bit more relaxing. It sounds a bit more Tom and John.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit more about your book, Write Without the Fight? Because I noticed its subtitle was something along the lines of Write with Ease and Satisfaction.
So it's based on understanding your creative process. So strong, it'll actually take you through the ways, the creative thinking goals, what kind of thinking is required for each creativity goal. So I've mentioned them earlier: clarity, ideas, structure, and finish. Clarity, ideas, structure, finish. The reason those are the four is not just happenstance. They're linked to when your brain shifts. So when you're in clarity, your brain is open, sensing gaps, looking for opportunities, trying to figure out what problems to address. Not so much later, then you go into ideas, and when you go into ideas, you're basically addressing some of the challenges that you identified in the clarifying stage. And when you're addressing those challenges with ideas, you're going to get playful, you're going to get fun and funny, you're going to get outrageous, crazy ideas, right? And then when you get into structure, some of those will fall away, some of them will be chosen, and you'll start to structure what you're actually doing. And of course, finish is a little bit about like getting in that zone where you have finishing energy. You just want to take it to finish.
Okay, so that's not...
Or it's also about being collaborative and bringing in people that you need to make it happen. So it implies not just the whole project, which is how people tend to think of it, but those same four thought processes will go swirl around in your brain, like just to find something that rhymes with Bob.
Yeah.
Your brain just works that way, in a big way, and it's iterative. So it'll make little cycles on the way to its really big cycle too.
Yeah.
So anyway, once you kind of get what you don't do well or where you lose energy, it's sometimes a skill thing only because you tend to have invested much more deeply in the place where you're fun and funny and you love it and people love you for it. Like, it was really profitable for me to stay with ideas. But when you get out of that setting, it was painful to me to not be able to take my ideas to fruition, So, anyway, once you understand what it is that's holding you back, there's tools available. Just simply that. There's a power tool that can cut through your structure problem. And it just makes it so much more accessible. So that's why I say you can write with more ease and satisfaction, because all of a sudden, whatever it is that's hamstringing you, first of all, you can take the emotion out of it, quit apologizing for what you aren't, and you can get on with it. Get on with what you do well. get some tools for what you don't do as well, bring in some collaboration for what you don't do as well. I used to look at a friend of mine who was an illustrator and author and just feel like, well, he's creative, you know, he's so careful and meticulous. And I'm clearly not that. I don't have that kind of, I'm not an artist, you know, and that just meant so give up in my brain, you know, but you can't be who you aren't. You can only be who you are.
Yeah.
And you can create with what you got,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
And once you get to that, what you got gets really powerful instead of.
Julia, where did all this come from in you then as a youngster? You sound like someone that's had a love for thinking and creativity and whatever for forever. Where do you think it came from?
You know, to be honest, my mother is a blocked writer.
Right.
She is 92
Right.
and she will never write the thing that she has researched for 40 years. And so she's obviously a clarifier, in case anybody's wondering. She has one idea. She's been working on it 40 years, right? It's a good idea, to be honest. But anyway, so she was a blocked writer. So she would like think that we were all going to write the great American novel by the time we were 15 or 16. There were like typewriters in our playroom, you know?
Right.
I wish that were a joke, but it really is something with, especially the electric typewriter. I love that. It's electric, you know? Anyway, so I grew up with the expectation that I would publish. I am the only kid from my family who did publish. So I guess I took it more seriously than others.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to, even in high school, I did books for projects, you know?
Right.
I have 4 books out and in the world. And anyway, so I guess it just comes from, you know, I'm sure it comes from my mother. I think it comes from me, but maybe not. I'm still trying to please that, right? It's like the person who's a doctor and they were like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
I hope I don't have to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Parents have a lot to answer for, don't they? Have you forced your kids? Have you been leaving typewriters since they were little around and
you know,
sneaking a word processor into the crib?
My kids are very creative. I wrote a book with them when they were 6, 9, and 12 called Are We There Yet?
Right.
Which was a cross-country memoir written in 5 voices.
Oh, wow.
So, and we went on tour with that book and they were on TV and stuff.
Nice.
So let's see, what did that force them into thinking? They rolled their eyes at that so much. The 6-year-old was excited.
Yeah.
But the 9 and 12 were like,
yeah, it wears off, doesn't it, as they get a bit older?
It's like, quit, just quit now.
Oh, this is so embarrassing, Mom.
I know. We have dates scheduled in Atlanta. We're going forward. So I think as a result, they are creative and in pursuing their own kinds of things, and which I think is great. They certainly have permission to be creative, which a lot of kids in their 20s don't. That's
very true.
You know, but I don't know. A mea culpa, that is the equivalent of leaving a typewriter in their playroom.
Yeah.
So the fiction books that you've got on the go at the moment, have they been simmering away for a long time? Have you written quite a lot of fiction before, or is this a kind of new route?
Okay, so I wrote one some time ago, maybe 5 or 7 years ago. My agent didn't like it and it just shut me down. I just quit on it. And then the one I'm writing now, I'm liking a lot, you know, so who knows if I'm about to do I've got a whole manuscript on it. June 21st, we start 100 Writing Days of Summer. So in the Facebook group, so I'm going to write every day. I hope to have it done by the end of the summer in a rewrite. And I don't know, eventually I might go back to the other one and see if I can, you know, I took it into workshop and things. People liked it, but it was also had some weaknesses. So obviously it could use some work, but I just gave up. So whether I'll go back to that one or not is hard to predict. Or maybe it just taught me how to write a novel and that was what it was meant to do in my life, you know?
Yeah. Whether that was just the practice run that just gave you the tools.
Yeah, maybe that was just, that was its role. Who knows? I can't predict, but I'm focused on the one I'm currently writing, which I'm very excited about.
Do you write in a genre, or are you kind of...
I'm going to be honest. I really don't know. It is a funny novel. So I write as if it's a movie.
Okay.
So it's not literary in that sense, but it's not a genre like romance or it's a funny, sort of outrageous story. Is that a genre? It's basically practically a movie.
A movie novel. There you go.
A movie novel. Maybe you should write it as a movie. Have you thought about that?
Well, we moved out to LA 5 years ago, maybe, but everybody dreams of a best-selling novel that gets made into a movie.
Yeah, good point. So if it's already a movie, that's easy, isn't it?
I think it's probably easy, John. I think it's already in the bag. Done and done.
Yeah, I might option it already. Can I option it?
You can.
Coming up next on the Failing Writers podcast, Tom says.
Yeah.
Then John says. Carry on.
Anyway, what do you guys write in your failing way?
But we've got several projects on. I'm trying to write some short stories. I'm writing a murder mystery novel. I'm writing a play with my wife.
Nice.
Maybe that's part of the problem as well. I'm just taking on too much.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well,
like being overloaded?
Yeah, pick one idea and stick with it is what people used to always say to me. It might be. As long as you can keep them all moving.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep them all staged in your head. It's like staged in your head. Your brain does so much of the work when you're not even at a table.
Yeah.
So if you can keep it staged in your head, it doesn't matter if you're on vacation or riding a bike. You're still writing that book.
Are you still writing the book when you're asleep with your face on the keyboard?
You absolutely. There's a lot of research on sleep think.
Well,
yes.
That's good.
There's a lot of research.
So John, what you actually sleep while you're writing, and then while you're sleeping, you're writing while you're sleeping. In theory, you should be churning out a lot of stuff. You should be drowning in manuscripts.
So I'm very productive.
On them. You got a mattress made of me.
He's literally sleeping on them. Yeah, you're probably right, Julie. You like to hear about these old people that like stash loads of money underneath the bed. John just got like half-written novels.
But that's what I was asking before, if you can fail and thrive at the same time.
Yeah, yes. Very pertinent to our podcast.
One of the ways you can fail and thrive at the same time is to have too much going or to be writing something that doesn't really have an out, someplace to go when you're done with it. Like that would be lack of clarity.
Yeah.
Be writing something with a really dull idea. You might be really busy with it, so you're thriving, but it's a cliche. Well,
it's hard, isn't it? Because sometimes you want to give up because you're not sure whether it's a good idea or not. Like John said, you don't want to invest too much time in it. But then sometimes you find yourself going far too far down the line with something in your heart of hearts, doesn't really work and you don't really like anymore. But you get this weird kind of gritty determination to finish it, even though you're probably not going to finish it because eventually you will give up. But you kind of flogging the dead horse and going too far. And it's hard, like you said, as an individual person, as a single writer, as a person stuck in your writing room, to make that executive decision to ditch it or carry on. It's quite a tricky thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So, that is a great place to use this 4 thinking skill model.
Yeah.
Because there's tools that can help you through a thought process that you're invested in the decision at the end. So you don't have this sense of should I or shouldn't I? Today I think I should, tomorrow I think I shouldn't, the next day I'm back on. You don't have the same on again, off again. You've really looked at the various upsides, downsides, outcomes, inputs, that sort of thing. And when you've made the decision, you're much more vested in it. So if you took this same process, which is just how your brain thinks, but you deliberately drag your brain through a decision-making session on the subject of, should I stick with this work or should I move to that work? You can really get to where you're doing what's right for you and you feel it. You feel it in your bones. You don't, you know what I mean? Like, It can be very valuable to use the map in that way in an actual deliberate creativity session.
I know I was going to ask you, do you think a little bit of suffering is not a bad thing? Because I think some of us have this sort of slightly stupid, idealized image of the suffering artist, hunched over a desk at 3 a.m. With a bottle of whiskey for company.
So there's no help for the vulnerability you're going to feel. End of subject. Science can't get you out of that. We're talking about facing down millennia of instinctual survival tactics. So there's no way you're going to not suffer in that way. Vulnerability, pain, second guessing yourself, feeling not good enough, feeling.
And if you're writing a novel, opening yourself out as well.
Precisely. So science isn't going to change that. If you're writing anything good, it's going to cut to the bone, right? But what science or this deliberate creativity can do is just help you get your stuff out of you and do your best. And, nobody can change your talent. Nobody can change your insight or like how timely your product might be in the world. Like there's if you're thinking of like something like, I don't know if you guys had Pet Rock in the 90s in England. It was huge in the US.
Oh yeah, with the little googly eyes.
Yeah, and it lived in a crate, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, that's an idea that somebody made millions on, who, I don't know who, but the bottom line being...
Seems a stretch to call it an idea, doesn't it? But yeah.
I think the goal was to call it an idea.
Yeah, that was the genius. That was the actual idea. Yeah. Was to call that an idea, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right.
So you have this product, you have the pressure of the society, of the culture, of the whatever, So you have like all these things that have to combine to make something as stupid as Pet Rock become a bestseller. So, and those things are out of your control, more or less. The only thing you can control is the person and the product, but the pressure of society and, the timing and things like that, you can't control that. You do probably, if you're, as an artist, have insight into the world that you don't even know you have. You have a zeitgeist. So if you put it out, it'll be received in a way that surprises even you, probably. There's things you want to show people in the world. There's things you want others to see that only you see. And you don't even think of it that way.
I think you're right. I think life can be very frustrating when it feels like people don't get what you're going on about. And writing is a way of kind of your key.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's why you want to write, that you have this little intuition or insight or zeitgeist that others don't seem to get. So you want to plan it out and, give it life in a character or give it life in an essay. And so if that happens to be timed accurately or possibly, and put out into the world at the right time or whatever, that now is collaborative. It's out of your hands. Now other people reading it are going to bring their own ideas to it, their own visualizations based on what you've said. So you see what I'm saying is like how big or well or good your thing is received or takes off or whatever is out of your control. It's just at that point you're just trusting others to collaborate in their brains.
Yeah. Just that very thought takes a lot of the pressure out of it, doesn't it, though? Because it's not your fault. There's nothing you can do. You've done your bit.
You've done your bit.
Therefore, how it lands or whether it's a big deal or not is that's just the way the wind blows on that particular day. It's not.
And it's not even a talent validation. It is sometimes more than that. It's timing or it's,
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also just that idea that you've got to be out on the dance floor dancing if you want to. You have to be in the arena, to use every cliche I can come up with, So a lot of people don't have a hit until their third or fourth thing. And again, it's not because they got better at it. It's because that just happened to hit at a time.
Yeah. And every now and again, you get someone that has the hit on the very first thing, don't you? And it's rare, but it does happen. But again, it's just that thing of it just lands in the right place at the right time. And it's pretty good.
Like Elizabeth Gilbert doing Eat, Pray, Love. She asked people to sign releases so she could use their story in her books. And she said to them, no one reads my books. This was her fourth book. But it happened to be spiritual, self-help, story, eating indulgence, all these divorce and love, romance, all these things that were already trending just sort of it was just confluent. And, that was just the kind of life-altering hit that you could never have preconceived. And all she was doing is writing her truth, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people we talk to, a lot of different authors, it does come back round to that. The two things they always say is A, just write, stop thinking about it, just actually right through, right forward. And the other thing is, don't play any guessing games about what you're putting out there. Just put out what you believe, what you want to put out there, what you feel you need to put out there, and either it floats or sinks. And like you said, that's not your fault or otherwise. It's just that's how it is.
Yeah, I think you just trust that you have a zeitgeist, or you wouldn't have right.
Hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, that's been really interesting, Julie. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We really appreciate it. And,
well, that's great. I enjoyed talking with you guys. You're a lot of fun.
It's been great. Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And really good to hear that it's not just me that has writing narcolepsy as well. I'm really pleased about that.
Was that. I was like certain she's just going to go, oh no, that's mental. No, that's just you. I've got someone else who does that.
I'm so pleased. That's the first person I've mentioned it to.
It just makes sense though, talking about the energy thing, about your different, what your sort of skill set and talents are, the things that you're not naturally, within the creative process, that you're not naturally good at, sap your energy and suddenly become mountains to climb. But if you just call the whole creative process as one thing, it's impossible to identify those. It just appears that you're hitting some kind of brick wall at some point, which you are, but it's because of these little things.
And the idea that you can go through all the different processes very, very quickly as well. Like in one paragraph, potentially.
Yeah.
I like that.
But you will get stuck on the bit that you're not naturally gifted
But
at.
somehow knowing about
it does, because you can apply tools. Like, a simple one she suggested you might try would be to do it out loud. So you're using a slightly different part of your brain and a different process. And as soon as you're saying stuff out loud, then you're processing it on a secondary level as well while it's coming out, if you like. Yeah, I think that could be see if that can stop you falling asleep. You should try that.
I will. I'll report back.
But yes, huge thanks to Julia for talking to us all the way from Los Angeles.
So, Tommy.
Yeah.
Have you been stuck on anything this week? Or has it been flowing like the proverbial system?
No, I've been stuck, actually, on keeping going, doing the little comedy bits for DMs Are Open that I've been mentioning.
Oh, yeah. Did you...
I've hit a bit of a brick wall on that, really, in terms of, I don't know, just identifying what stories are worth satirising, or I think I've lost... I don't know what I'm trying to do now. I think I'm trying to write stuff that they might find funny, but then that's not necessarily what I find funny.
That's a real trap, that, isn't it, I think?
It's like, what am I trying to do here? Just trying to get on the show, or am I actually trying to be funny?
Yeah.
So I think I maybe need to reel it back into just do what you think, do what you believe, which is what we have learnt and I seem to have forgotten from the podcast, isn't it?
So did you write any stuff for this weekend? Or?
No, I've drawn a blank at the minute on this one, but I've got a little bit of time to still do it, so I will do it. It's for the first time in my writing life, I've committed to do something and I will see it through.
Go on.
Small steps. We never asked at the start, actually, what we've been writing this week.
We didn't.
We should have done, shouldn't we?
I mean, that's easy for me to answer because I haven't.
Right, okay.
Also, it hasn't been very long, has it?
No, we're recording this a little bit in advance because you're going on holiday. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so it's a shortened week.
So
yeah.
Give me a chance, man.
Yeah, it's all right, whatever. Are you taking any writing equipment on holiday with you?
I'm going to take like a little mini iPad with a keyboard. It's got a keyboard on, but for tiny little fingers. Yeah. But I'm going to have a go.
I would imagine you'll be finding some classic French bistro where you can sit and write and just not actually write anything, just take some pictures for your Instagram or whatever you're doing. Wearing a cravat.
Yeah, my linen suit.
And smoking Gauloise cigarettes. Yeah.
I am going to Nice, so that's going to fit that look really quite well.
Yeah, you could get somewhere nice on the coast, like a bit.
But I'll post some pictures. Yeah. So you can all see where I am. That's what everybody wants to see. Everyone's dying to see that.
Yeah.
So we don't exactly know what's happening next week, but whatever it is, it's going to be great. And we're going to pull it out of the bag, and it's not just going to be us winging it, is it, Tom?
I just want Dave back.
I know.
All I want is Dave back on here.
He'll be back soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
He can't resist it.
It isn't the same without him, is it?
It's not. I mean, it's still, don't get me wrong, it's still nice.
If you'd asked me before, I would have said, he's just a freeloader. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't really bring anything to the party. Whatever.
But does.
No, he's not here.
Yeah, he does actually contribute something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But when I knew he wasn't going to be here, I did ask him to record some lines, just one line really, just so we could get him to agree to stuff.
Oh, brilliant.
So if there's anything... Well, actually, no, one thing we did say on the back of your very well-received tree story, romance story, one idea we did have was for me and Dave to pen a little romantic story. Yeah. Because we were saying when you were doing it, we were saying, oh, God, it's not anything we would even think to do, really.
Yeah.
So, Dave, do you fancy writing a romance story?
Oh, what a wonderful idea. Yeah, I can't think of anything better. Let's do that.
Sounds really keen, actually, doesn't he?
Right. No, I think that might be a sarcastic reply. Let's see if we've got a bit more of a genuine one.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
That's a bit better, isn't it? Seems up for it, doesn't it?
Yeah, sounds like it. Thanks, Dave.
We'll put that, I mean, obviously we've got a lot of other stuff on, but we'll put it on the back burner and give us something to revisit, won't it?
Yeah, perfect.
A few weeks' time.
Yeah. Cheers, Dave. Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you, John. I don't know what you're thanking everyone for.
I don't know. I was trying to wrap it up.
It felt nice, I have to say. It felt nice.
Thanks, lislisters.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care of yourself.
Speak to you next week, hopefully with Dave. Until.
Fingers crossed.
Bye.
See you later. Hello.
Where's everybody gone?